Welcome to the David Spizak Show. Thank you so much for joining me. Now listen, I'm going to tell you right off the bat, the person that I'm going to introduce you to, the person that you know you'll be listening to today, I've had her on as a guest, not once, but twice before. But I have her on again today, and I'm going to be completely honest, full transparency. It's highly likely I'll probably have her on again, maybe in a month, maybe in 6 weeks, maybe in 2 months. But this woman is indomitable. She's a force, literally a force of nature in our industry. And there are some really incredible, iconic dealers and incredible innovators, incredible thought leaders. But I'm just super thankful that we have all of them, and we have somebody like the one and only Diana Lee, who's the co-founder, CEO of Constellation out of New York City, with me here today. And Diana, I hope you don't get tired of this, but the things that come out of your brain and ultimately out of your mouth, and I'm calling those out separately, are equally compelling. So first and foremost, thank you for taking the time and be willing to come back on with me today.
Thank you so much, David, for having me on. You're always a fabulous host, and your interesting ideas and questions are always really the most trendy and happening in the auto industry.
Thank you. Well, I'll tell you what, it's not oftentimes this face and trendy gets thrown into the same sentence, so I'll take it. So I'll tell you one of the reasons, and the reason I said the things that come out of your mouth and out of your brain, and I separated them. I'll say this. The reason I said that is because there are people out there, you and I know, we've known over the years in this industry, where they have fantastic brains, but we don't always see what's in their brain. Some of those great thoughts, they never make it out of their mouth. And, sometimes it's politics in their situation. Sometimes they work for an organization. They have to be very measured. Sometimes they may not have complete confidence or certainty. But make no mistake, we have met, you and I both, over the years, some very brilliant people in this industry. Agreed?
Absolutely. And I think that what differentiates somebody like yourself and myself from others is the ability that you can be vulnerable. And I love that about you, David, is like you're a straight shooter. You say it like it is. And there's too many that don't out there. But if you don't share your own stories and allow vulnerability to be a part of your story, it's not meaningful to anybody.
I agree. And I thank you for saying that. It's very kind of you. For me personally, social media has never been about likes. It's never been about follows. I'm not, and don't take this the wrong way, anybody, but you'll know what I mean. I'm not looking for friends. I didn't set out in social to say, oh my God, I need to be validated or verified, or hey, oh my God, you're so great. It's not that. You get on there because, it's more of a mission. It's something that's really deeply embedded in me, that I would love to do anything I can before I leave this earth to make a positive impact on this industry and on people in general. And in fact, Diana, I used to say this when Clubhouse was a thing. I was going to do a tour that was simply going to be titled Empty My Head Before I'm Dead, right? Because what good is it for us to be buried with the IP in our brain and we never put it out there? So next time anybody sees an obituary and you hear that somebody was so-and-so, and of course they left behind family, and it's always sad. But oftentimes it's about she was a company owner and he owned this and he had yachts and boats. Who cares? What I care about is the greatest IP, the greatest gifts, the greatest assets that human had was in their brain. And I just want to get it out. And I know you're the same way. And I'm going to start there because, you are, simply put, I think, the most audacious person I've ever met in this industry. I've been in this industry for 45 years. I've seen some things, heard some things, done some things, lived through some things, and survived things. I'm just really kind of rattling around my brain. I don't think I've ever met anybody that had your audacity. And I'm just curious, and I'm telling you, this is a compliment of the highest order. I'm curious, I know your story. You shared it with me on the very first podcast, and you recounted a shorter version of it the last time we connected. But where does the audacity, the confidence, the drive, the mission, I have to save the industry, I have to do something to help dealers, where does all of that come from?
I think at two different areas. One, I think the audacity comes from my feeling that I'm not necessarily good enough. And so because, when you're told that a lot, right? When I was growing up, I was told that a lot. And you realize like, okay, here's my fight in me. And the car business teaches you how to fight. I mean, retail automotive is street fighting every day. And I came from retail. So for me, the audacity that sometimes I get to say the things that I say is because I came from street fighting in the automotive retail industry. And that's how it is there. You are audacious. You speak up. You have to, because if you don't, you get crushed. And so it's all the training that I've had in the past. I think the second piece, which is the passion and the mission, that comes from love. To me, I love the auto industry. It's my blood. I love the people in the automotive industry. Some of the dealers are like my best friends. I'll call them at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night. And I genuinely want them to win. It is in my blood to compete, to make sure that they stay in business and they thrive in this business. And to me, I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that they win. That is all pure. It's not about revenues. It's not about making money. It's about how do I help my dealers who I cared so deeply about, that they win, because I'll win from an after effect of them winning. But that has always been in the core of everything that I've done since starting Constellation.
I'm so happy to hear you say that. I'm not surprised. I was just sitting here thinking, as you were saying that, what would when it was all said and done, and let's say that you were not working in the auto industry, which I would just suspect that, it'd be some version of the movie Cocoon. You're going to be 98 years old. Maybe you could barely remember your own name. Every once in a while, somebody could get a lucid thought out of you. And they ask the question, what was the greatest moment, in your business career? I suspect that you would not say it was in association with the greatest moment or greatest achievements of Constellation, but rather recalling that you had some transformative, you and your team, your technology, your software, your innovation, just had this incredibly transformative effect on the industry at large that helped dealers. Is that a fair statement? That you would consider that a bigger success than your own success?
That's why Constellation doesn't have my name in it. It's not about me. It's about what we can put forth to help dealers. And I'm going to tell you, I literally will tell you the truth about this, and I don't care if it's aired. I hate Tesla. And I hate I hate it because you know why? They're robbing us out of our own industry, and it kills me. It's one of these things that I say, this is our industry. We're traditional. We came here first. We built an infrastructure. We built the franchise markets here in the United States. And how dare you actually try to take any of that away from us? That's how I feel about direct-to-consumer brands in the automotive industry. To me, I won't let that happen. As long as I'm alive, I'm going to fight tooth and nail for the dealer markets and the traditional markets out there. I love them. And I love them because I am you. I am them. That's what I believe. And so if there's innovation, it's always innovating on how do I move the franchise model forward.
I'm exactly the same way. What I think about this, no lie, anybody could call my wife up and she'll attest to this because she has equal levels of admiration and also concern over my single-mindedness when it comes to this. What is it that I can do and my team can do to allow dealers to be sustainably successful, regardless of external circumstances, regardless of disruptors, regardless of unfair playing fields, like you're referring to with Tesla? You know, the what's referred to as the big beautiful bill, you know, that is trying to pass this now. One of the elements, apparently, if my understanding is correctly and looking at it, is something that would be quite damaging to Elon. And maybe this was one of the things that caused the rift, I don't know, between him and the president. But it would basically level the playing field from what he has in this unfair fight. Elon, on the other hand, as many people heard or read at some point, you know, he was a fan of getting rid of the $7,500 federal tax credit. And there's no wonder why. Who would that benefit? Him, right? When you think about it, everybody else is trying to sell cars, right, through a franchise system. And Elon, on the other hand, he owns his battery plant. He makes over $3 billion from charging, including other OEMs, traditional OEMs. He makes, I think, $4.2 billion a year on battery credits. Then he has the carbon credits he sells to other OEMs. He has financing. He has insurance. He has energy storage. So he has 7, 8 different streams of revenue, right, that comes off of it's an iPhone. Sell the iPhone and money starts to proliferate. Sell a Tesla, proliferates. And because he has his own supply chain, you know, he could do things that the traditional ones can't because he's not paying normal advertising. He's not paying dealers involved. It's not a fair system at all. And you've got dealers who, as you know, Diana, have spent millions and millions and millions of dollars. Some of them have been around for over 100 years. You think of the Carter Myers organization, you think of McClarty's organization, you think of many of these organizations that have been around over 100 years, serving their communities, you know, creating taxes, municipal taxes that support everybody. And then they come in with the direct consumer and attempt to have this uprising. It's not okay. So I love the fact that you said that. I want to jump on something else, and I'm not going to promise you I'm going to leave Audacity alone. I may circle back to it, but you said something else that I think is very important. You said the word innovation. We're never going to stop innovating, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay, so here's my question for you. Most of the time, if somebody says, hey, did you see this great new innovation? People automatically associate that with a technology, right? A software, maybe it's AI, maybe it's robotics. But when you hear the word innovation, what does true innovation, that word, mean to you? Is it simply technology?
To me, innovation is breaking the glass ceiling on the traditional ways that we've been doing things to make lives easier for everybody, consumers and dealers alike. To me, I feel like when you bring up Elon Musk, my frustration sometimes been, we know that Elon gets his batteries from China. It's not in the press, but that's the truth. There's been automakers that told me that he even gets it from China.
Some, yeah.
But then, you know, he'll work around and basically get tariffs waived for himself. Whereas what you're basically saying, which is so true, we have the automakers, the traditional guys that have franchise models, these families that have owned dealerships for over 100 years, that have suffered through the wars and everything in their communities to provide back for them. And overall, they get the raw end of the stick. They don't get the privileges that Elon so far has gotten. It's not fair. And the way that Elon, I believe, has gotten there is by innovating. And so the only way to beat the competition is to innovate as fast and better than the other guys that are already out there.
And doesn't that mean, to me, you know, technology is just getting to be more deeply and deeply embedded in our lives. There's just no way around it, right? Anybody who is thinking that you know, AI is not for real. It's for real. Anybody who's sitting on the sidelines and saying, I'm going to wait a year. Okay, I got to tell you, 1 year waiting on the sidelines with the AI that's out there, you might as well be waiting 10 years with the level of iteration and evolution and acceleration that's happening. I believe that that technology alone doesn't solve anything, right? But when you take technology and you put it in the hands of an innovative dealer leader who has an innovative management team, and they're working with an innovative organization who has a great innovative leader like yourself, who's innovative in the way that they bring things to market, or you have innovation in the processes themselves, the training, the way it gets rolled out. Now, to me, now you're talking true innovation. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely. I mean, I've trained from the best of the best car dealership leaders out there. And I just remember, everything that they do is around innovation. And what I mean by that is like, they don't see, customers coming in and saying, can I get them financing? They're going to get them financing because overall they know how to do creative financing that creates innovation on how to get paper done. But I've seen it over and over again when they came out with, residuals, used car residuals, used car leasing. I mean, just think about all of the innovations that we've seen
out
in
of
the
state
last
deliveries.
Yeah.
There are stores that are doing over 50 out of state deliveries and stores who have never done one.
And stores
Crazy.
that have just done D2C directly from their stores or their franchises that's aggregated all of the data of their inventory to be able to feed out there, to beat out the publics that are also out there as well. I mean, the true innovation that comes from the hearts and minds of the car business that we don't get to talk about that often to the consumers and to the people that actually would enjoy hearing some of these stories.
So let's circle back to the audacity. In Constellation, is audacity or innovation contagious throughout your organization? I think you said you had at one point close to 200 employees now, associates.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
So how do you make audacity, mission, innovation, true innovation contagious throughout the organization so it permeates throughout?
I think it's the product. Overall, to me, if our clients and our employees stay with us because they see the future of the product, and the product is about revolutionizing AI and revolutionizing technology in the automotive industry. It's the excitement of the future that's coming that they want to be a part of that doesn't exist right now. So we have AI models that we've built that can now answer questions about inventory, offer, pricing, transactions, all in a second's time. And all the data that we're sitting there that's paralyzing us to understand like what's happening in the auto industry, as an OEM, I can now look at our AI systems and know which hotspots that I'm winning and losing. I know which territories that in the next 3 months, I'm going to lose 2, 3, 5% market share because I don't have the right inventory, the right pricing, and the right sales in those markets. You now have that in real time.
This is actually what you just touched on. I mean, there's a lot to unpack, but I'm just going to jump on one part of that just because it's timely. I've been sharing with people, and this isn't necessarily always what an OEM wants to hear, and I get that. But I've been saying for years that the new car business will never be the same. New car part of our business will never be the same. And I would challenge somebody. If you go back to 2008, okay, which was cash for clunkers. You remember cash for clunkers? Yeah. Okay, the business was on its butt. Right, we had gone from 17.5 million, 17.3 million sales down to a low of 9.5 million, if you recall. And you had some companies in trouble, and the government was looking at ways to bail out banks and airlines, and And the auto business was trying to get some help too. Well, they ended up with cash for clunkers. When that happened, what happened with new car sales? It went up.
Yes.
You're sitting there in one world, and the greatest tragedy that ever occurred, on our soil was 9/11. And it rocked so many families forever. It'll never change. It rocked the city of New York. They'll never forget. None of us will forget. But it also rocked the economy. It nearly put some businesses and even industries under. General Motors at that time came out with 0% interest a couple months later in an effort to try to get the economy going again. Not only did it get it going, it just created record sales for new cars. The pandemic did the same. The chip shortage, the part supply, and yes, even fear from tariffs going up. Each and every one of those instances was an externally created, externally driven circumstance that positively, massively increased new cars and created, the biggest spikes that we've seen. You take those things away, you take incentives away, and the new car department, it's a very tough haul. I bring this up for a reason, Diana. So most recently it was the tariffs, and a lot of dealers, as you know, end of February, March, April, spectacular, right? For a lot of them in May, it started to cool off. A lot of the pull aheads had already happened. People that, for those listening, we call them pull aheads when somebody wasn't planning on buying, say in April or March, they were planning on buying the end of the year, but they decided to pull ahead their purchase decision because they were fearful that the tariffs would drive cars up. I speak to dealers and work with dealers all across the country. June has been soft, very soft. May was cooling off. June is incredibly soft. We're used to May and June being two of the biggest months of the year.
Yes.
We're used to it being the big sell down sales months, right? And yet it's cooling off, and we're starting to see inventory go back up again in some franchises, some stores. I mean, it's going up tremendously. Now, you're going to back this up in July. And by the way, Diana, there are some unbelievable incentives out there, including 0%, and it's not moving the needle. So when you talk about innovation and why it's critically important to have your mindset to innovate, because what would have worked a year ago doesn't matter today. True. I mean, it doesn't work. It doesn't put a dent in something today. The same ad dollars, the same ad message, the same, incentives, they don't work today. So amongst other things, is that what drives you in why does that matter? If I'm a new car dealer today, why does the innovation and the audacity of your team to come up with new and different ways, how is that helping me as a new car dealer?
Yeah. So, David, I'm so glad you asked this question because I've been speaking to dealers and I'm listening to them. And this is what I'm hearing out there. I'm hearing that they're terrified about the dealer allocation that's coming in the next 4 to 6 weeks. I have dealers that typically get 100 new vehicles a month. They're getting 400 in the next 4 to 6 weeks. They also feel this cooling off that you're saying. So I have dealers that typically sell 500 cars in a month, and they're going to close June with 150 new vehicles. So the drop off and cooling is happening in real time. The OEMs have not incentivized in a while because of tariffs. They've stopped the inventory for coming in for a little while. And so now the dealers are terrified with all of this inventory about to hit. What do? Most of them, they're cutting marketing. They're literally sitting there and they're saying, okay, that's the first thing that goes. I can't spend money in marketing. I can't spend money in training. Those are the places that I'm going to save money on. But this is what I'm saying. In order to win, you have to have audacity. You have to double and triple down right now. And what I mean is you make a choice. Do you want to lose $500,000 in your P&L this month? Or do you want to spend $50,000 more in marketing? That's how you have to look at it. You either spend more in order so that you don't have a $500,000 loss, or you take the $500,000 loss, because that's what's about to happen. If you know that that train has left the station and those cars are now hitting the lot, you must market. You've got to double, triple down right now, because it's a matter of those aging vehicles, and they're going to kill you if you don't.
Well, I'll tell you what, don't you think if you add on to that, for anybody listening?
Yes.
First of all, I was saying this to a dealer this morning. I said, let me ask you something. If you spend $20,000 in a marketing budget, and that $20,000 renders $50,000 in gross, do you want to spend more or less next month? They go, more. Okay. I said, okay, so now you spend $30,000 and it creates $60,000. Do you want to spend more or less? More. Think about something. It's crazy. Why do most dealerships or businesses at large, they actually set an advertising budget that limits the advertising? Well, if I limit the advertising, I limit the growth. If I limit advertising, I limit revenue. The whole point of advertising is to create an ROI, return on ad spend. So if I'm making money on 20 grand, I'm going to double down to go to 30. If I'm still making, I'm going to 50. If I still make, I'm going to 60. I might go to 100. As long as I'm making a return on ad spend, what the heck do I care what my ad spend is? There's a Toyota dealer that is in a small town, less than 10,000 people, no joke, spends between $250,000, listen to this, between $250,000 and $300,000 a month in advertising. Everybody thinks he was crazy until he was making $1.5 million and $2 million a month in net profit. If you're either in the game or you're not in the game, right? You can't stick your toes in the water. And here's the other part. Let me ask you this. So what if I pull back? What if I'm playing defense? What if I'm going to try to limit my losses here? And in the midst of that, I happen to be in a market with another dealer and another dealer that's using an innovation like yours, that's able to leverage data. Here's something, Diana, that's taking data that 6 months ago, they literally were buried under, and now they've turned the tables. They're leveraging the snot out of it to take share from the market, including, that dealer who decided to pull back. Would you comment on that, please?
Yeah, David. So here's something that's happening in real time. And it requires some strategy and knowledge of what's happening in the market. We all know that gas prices are going to go up. It's just a matter of time and how much they're actually going up. If you believe in that, the future is EV and hybrid vehicles. That's the truth. Those are the ones that are going to sell the fastest and they're going to move the most. Now it's understanding the market and which areas and which customers are buying EVs and hybrids in the near future. That's what data does. And AI can significantly cut the amount of time that you need in order to find those customers in hot pockets, and what areas you need to target, and what areas that you will know by what models that you're going to conquest. I specifically have a dealer, and this happens to be a VW store. And the question that I asked our AI agent is, based on his inventory, and this is like 4 weeks ago, based on his inventory, how much market share is this person going to lose in the next 90 days? And it showed every single dealer near him. And the first one was Hyundai. The Hyundai dealer near him was crushing him, literally taking all of his market share. And I said, is that true? And Frank was like, yep, that's true. He's definitely taking all my market share. The AI identified the dealer that's taking most of his market share. And then I said, Frank, you sit there and you don't do one more thing different, the AI agent now is saying you're going to lose another 2.9% of your own market share in the next 90 days. Do nothing. You're going down more in market share. It's already predicted. It's happening. And so that's what I'm trying to say. With all the data analysis that people are doing, understand who's taking the market from you. And instead of playing defense, you got to play offense. And you got to understand using AI agents, the future of being able to steal the market share back. To me, it's all of that. The future is no longer making reports, because think about how much time you, your team, your agency of record, it takes you a month to make a marketing report that's all past. With AI agents of the future, you already know in 1 minute what's happening right now. You know in the past what's happened, and you know how to actually counter it in the future, because it's going to give you all of the actions that you need to do in order to steal market share back. And this is the really exciting part. This is just the beginning, David. This is just one AI agent. But in the next 6 months, it's agent to agents that are going to speak to each other. So every recommendation that the agent makes, you can say action it, and it's going to action it. So some of the things that you say on the agent, I'll say geo-target a local market area of this dealership and say the best, lowest priced EVs in market, because you know that that market has the least amount of EVs by your competitor. So you're going to put an EV ad out there. The next thing is basically how much you need to spend on Google ads, Facebook ads, and all of those ads. The agent's going to tell you. And then you're going to say, action that, and it's going to action it for you automatically. The other piece that I would add to this is when we hooked up our AI agents with Google Analytics, and we did it for a lot of the dealers across the nation, I'm going to tell you what was shocking to me. None of them were tagged correctly. None. 0. Missing 76 tags. Now, what does that mean? If you're missing 76 tags, you have no idea where the traffic came from. You don't know if it's your digital ads. You don't know if it's your radio ads. You have no clue. And so how do you actually invest more money into something that you don't even know what drove that traffic? What's saddening to me is we have an industry right now that we're fast to move on market, but we're not checking the details because humans can't do it. There's 17,500 stores, and there's only, think about it, there's like 25 vendors that basically service that. So out of that 25, manpower alone can't do it. There's no way that we could check every single Google account, every single Facebook account to make sure that it was done properly. But agents can, and they could do it in 1 minute. You ask an agent, how much money do I need to spend in order to grab 3% more market share in the next 60 days? It's going to tell you. What search words do I need to buy in order to do that? What zip codes do I need to geo-target in order to win? Which areas do I have the most advantage from gas-powered to hybrid vehicles? It's going to tell you.
So this was, and you know, this is when, for anybody listening, there's always a point in my conversations with Diana to where if I do a good enough job, I can get her so wound up that I think she could power that one world building that she's in. If somebody could just connect some wires, she could power that building up. So I'm delighted that I got you that wound up. I'm astonished, equally astonished at what you just shared about tagging not happening. It begs a couple things. First of all, I just came up with a quote. Ready? Here's my quote. Any outcome that can be predicted can now be changed thanks to AI. Think about that. Any outcome, if I can predict an outcome that you're going to lose 2.9% share, I can change the outcome. I can now change how the story ends, how the movie ends. The second thing that occurs to me is there are likely to be, not all, but there are likely to be some marketing partners, agency partners, who start to become very uncomfortable with what's going on, because up till now, some of that is nebulous. It's complicated. It's complex. You can't track everything. Attribution's not perfect. But if I'm an agency and I'm doing business with a client and that client wants to deploy AI, chances are better than most that person's going to be able to achieve their objective of higher efficiency, better ROAS, return on ad spend, spending less money, which is not in my intelligent best interest. Now, a smart agency is going to be a great partner in saying, don't spend less, redeploy. Take some of that and put it back in your fixed operations department, put it in your used car side of your business. But don't you agree that this may put some marketing agency partners in a challenging position? And you must find that you have agency partners, marketing agencies you work with that see what's coming, see the future and say, I want to be part of it. I'm good. I just want to serve the dealer in the best way. And there's others that this is the last thing they want to hear.
It's time to team up at this stage, David.
So collaboration matters.
Absolutely. And overall, we're all in it to win it together. So whether it's an agency partner or not, I want to give them the power in order to actually help their customers. There's some agencies that come in all the time and they want to utilize our technology for all of their clients because they realize they don't have the infrastructure to build what we've already built. Out of the 200 employees that we have, 50% of them, 100 of them are in the dev side and the data science side of our business.
Wow.
They're building all day, every day. This is what they do. So if you have an agency partner that currently doesn't have at least 50% of their team in software building, what ends up happening is you have a bunch of really smart strategists that are making calls on media. But at the end of the day, those days are of the old. Agents are going to do all that work in the future. I know that people are scared about what jobs will be taken. It will be those types of jobs. At the end of the day, you don't need a smart strategist to tell you where to place the buy and how much to buy and what words to do. How the hell are they going to service you if they have 1,000 or 2,000 clients? They're not going to service you well. You have to use AI agents. There's no other way. And at the end of the day, the actions will be done by agents. You might like talking to a human being, but at the end of the day, how the hell does the agency make any money if they're charging you 10 to 15% margins? It's not even doable for the agency. They can't grow that way.
That's my point.
We all end up losing more market shares to the Teslas of the world if we don't stop. We have to work smart.
So this is the last thing I'm going to touch on right now. And this again, I love that when I have conversations with you, I've always told people the universe is pretty cool. If you let it just do what it does, it's pretty cool. I'll give you an example. I've never been in a situation where I taught a group of people something where at the same time I didn't also learn something. It's not possible to give somebody a compliment without also uplifting yourself. You know, there's some really just incredible things in the world like this. And I've always, when we have these conversations, I go into them with a genuine curiosity for myself and for anybody that's wanting to listen on how to get better, how to up-level, how to put their dealership, their business in a better position. And by the way, if anybody listening is not in a dealership environment, it's okay. This all applies to you and your business as well. But here's where I'm going. I remember on a number of occasions seeing shows like 60 Minutes or 48 Hours, 2020, one of those types of shows, that at some point they had somebody on who was a former criminal, they used to break into houses. And they would come on and tell people how to protect their house, right? Because you know what? I got busted. I went to jail. And now that's what I do. There's people out there that got caught for drugs, and now they teach kids on how to stay off drugs. There's people that once did one thing, got tremendous experience by it. And you see this in the business side too, not just when it comes to, criminal behavior. I bring it up for this reason. I started with audacity and innovation. I'd like to end here. Constellation, a good part of Constellation at one point was an agency, right? You did search. You did social. You could place my OTT, my digital, all of it.
Yes.
Okay. And now I'm talking to somebody who is innovating in the company, innovating as a leader in such a fashion that it's blowing up your own business, that business. And it's blowing it up, I would suspect. You tell me.
Yes.
But it's almost like we're moving away from that because the world's moving away from that. And we're moving away from that because no matter how hard I tried to serve clients in an agency function, I could not predict. I couldn't possibly have enough manpower, woman power. I couldn't possibly do some of those things. And now the number of associates between managed services or agency versus dev is gone in a radically different direction. And you're actually in a position where you can tell a dealer to not only, hey, you don't have to spend money with me in an agency, but or you could spend less. I mean, if that's not audacity, I don't know what the hell is, but that's reinvention of the highest order. Am I missing something? Did I get that right? That you're actually, if I hear everything the way I think I do, Diana, that what you used to do for clients, you have learned there's a better way. And now you may have situations where you're saying, I could show you how to spend less with marketing.
Yes. And I'll tell you, David, because I've gotten to know some of the agency partners, like the CEOs. They've become some of my best friends out there. It doesn't work for them either. How do you
It's a
run
hard business.
Yes. And these are certified providers in this space of automotive. At the end of the day, how do you survive at 10 or 15% margins and feed your people and make sure that you could give them raises and bonuses? It doesn't work for them either. There's middlemen and there's all of this stuff that happens in auto. At the end of the day, an agency doesn't survive with those types of margins. And overall, the dealers definitely want it more towards media. And I believe that is where the money should go. But at the end of the day, we want to keep our businesses. How do we do that and make sure everybody wins? How we do that is embrace AI. Because you can use AI without having as much manpower at your agency to be able to do all of the technical tasks that you need to buy media, but also to make engaging strategic decisions that are all data driven. You don't need human beings to do it. You now have AI agents that can do it all for you. A strategy report that would take a human being a week or 2 weeks to make can now be done in 1 second. Anything that you want to know about search terms, about social terms, what you should buy, all can be done in 1 second. And then in addition to that, it has the data sets of your inventory, your pricing, your competitors' price, their inventory, and factors in all of those decisions before saying spend another $5,000 on search or pull back on search and put $3,000 on social. But it's factoring in not just your play, but everybody else's play around you. And
Incredible.
To me, this is how agency partners that we love win. This is how dealers that we love win. But everybody can win because by not hiring people to do jobs that they hate is where I want to go and revolutionize the next pieces of this.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you an easy one.
Yeah.
When will you stop?
I won't stop.
Thank
I
you.
mean, to me, stopping is growing old and dying. And to me, Warren Buffett went until he was, 90?
I think, what was he, 93, 94? Yeah.
And he said he didn't even start getting tired until he was 90. And to me, I feel the same way. It's not about money for me, David.
No.
It's about how do
I'll tell you what,
help
don't you think that's a hint too, is if for anybody out there, regardless of your business, especially if you're in retail auto, if who you're dealing with, if what is the pressing thing, if the main focus is money, you need to run. Because that should never be the main focus. The money should always be a byproduct, right? We know when we want to, if we deliver a fantastic customer experience in your dealership, and that causes that client to do business with you. The money you make is a byproduct of what you delivered, right? If you focus on the money, I used to say that salespeople that focus just on the commission have commission breath. You could sense it a mile away. So I believe, it's important, it's incumbent on dealers today to take control of your future. And if you're going to take control of your future, and the AI is going to be a bigger and bigger part of the future, I don't know how you decouple those. So, and if you're going to be serious about AI, Diana, and I know I said I was going to wrap it up, but this is a good question for people. For somebody who's got 100 engineers and does this day in and day out, probably like me, 10, 12 hours a day or more, right? We have no clock. I have no calendar. I have no clock. Okay. I want to be like a casino. I don't know if it's night or day. I just have to get things done. So, but here's the thing. Is all AI the same? Like, because right now you're seeing more and more and more solutions saying AI, 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 AI. To a dealer, why does it matter? Is all AI the same?
No, there's not. We cannot do all different types of AI and do it well. There's a lot of companies out there that does conversational chat AI. There's a lot of companies, right? Which is, how do you get, instead of salespeople answering those calls, how do I use a bot to answer those calls and do it more effectively? The same person that does that cannot basically build out AI models that show days to sell and predictions based off of all of your data of inventory, offers, marketing, right? That is a different AI system and use cases. Gen AI is another use case. Videos and photos are now being done, and it is photorealistic. I'm going to tell you guys, I cannot stay here and say it didn't look like a photo 6 months ago, but it looks like a photo now. They are so realistic. To me, if you're a dealer still taking photography, I don't know why. Because this is a piece that I would tell you, David. When we ask the AI agent, what do I need to do to grab market share? Almost every report that basically goes out there says you're missing images on your website. You're missing 20%.
Isn't that crazy?
30%.
So you're 2025. We're still talking about this.
Yeah. But why are you spending millions of dollars in marketing? Because the marketing feeds are taking your inventory feeds. So if you don't have 20% pictures, or I've had dealers, it's the wrong photo. It's the wrong color. It's not even the right car. And
or a stock image.
Yes. But why are you spending $30,000 a month? Because they're just taking a feed and going to Facebook and Google with it. What a waste of complete money. But there's Gen AI. Gen AI, you don't even need a photographer anymore. It could now make a photorealistic picture and get it on websites, landing pages, e-blast, all in real time. In transit.
For less money.
And for us, it's $500 a month. Think about that.
You say, wait, hold on. I want to make sure. It's $500 a month to create pictures for the dealer's inventory.
Exactly.
That's it. $500 all in.
$500. And instead, people are spending $20 to $30 per car taking a picture. And you don't do it well. You don't do it efficiently. I've seen pictures out there. The PDI tape is still on the car, and you took a photo and you put it on your website.
All right. You're being too audacious.
It's like going on a date with your pajamas on.
Is that
why
wrong?
Why bother going on the date?
Yeah, why bother? Well, listen, I could do this all day long. I told you, don't hate me if I ask you back, because one of the things that makes you very unique is that if I have this conversation with you 3 months ago, 6 months ago, a year ago, the core, the innovator, the leader, the audacious one is always there. But what you end up talking about and what's been created, what you've learned, and how you've impacted the industry is always getting better. And so I have to somehow get permission to be able to have the right to have you back on anytime that there's some type of a significant change that you're seeing. Because listen, all we hear about, Diana, is up here, AI, AI, AI. But that doesn't mean, I just did a webinar for the California new car dealers, and I shared with them how they should be using AI. And basically the title of this was AI Everything. And that sounds overwhelming, but I just want you to think for a moment, anybody out there. There are dealerships right now, I promise you, their CRMs are AI enabled. The DMS they're using is AI enabled. They have cameras that are smart camera where the cameras themselves have AI embedded. They can see your people. They can measure workflow. They can create higher efficiency. They could do an automatic appraisal. There's AI that could tell you how to do a better job of hiring the right person so you could finally get rid of that high turnover rate and figure out who's the right person to hire the first time. Yep, that AI exists today. There's AI that will allow you to take every picture in your dealership for $500. By the way, the creator of that, I'm looking at her right now. So there's things that literally cover inventory, acquisition, every part, service, BDC, AI. Right now, in some markets, dealers are competing with dealers who have embraced AI all in, and they're leaking market share, and they don't know why. And I'll tell you this, you tell me this, final question, tell me if you agree. I believe that the average dealer with AI will likely still become average or a little bit better than average. They'll be able to hold. The dealers that were in the lower third without AI, I think are going to become dinosaurs quickly. I think they're going to tend to lose share. I think the top performing dealers, think about this. I think, Diana, the dealers that are dominating today, the ones that have innovation and audacity, when they bring AI in their stores, I think the separation from the average in them is going to go wider and wider. Do you agree with that?
I absolutely agree, especially this time. Right now, market is soft. You got a ton of allocation coming in. It's time to change because the smaller guys aren't going to make it. And I say this out of love because I love the industry. I don't want the industry to sink. I don't want D2C to come in and take it from us. Overall, in order for us to all do well, we've got to fight. And overall, I think those dealers especially need AI because you don't have all the money in the world to keep hiring and getting right smart people. And overall, you'll lose those people to competitors that are much bigger that can also pay them a lot more money. So for me, it's embracing the stage, understanding what AI can do.
And I would say just as a footnote, for any of you out there that is a small dealer, you can win too. Because there will be David and Goliath stories. There are today. There are dealers right now leveraging AI in towns under 15,000 people. They're beating CarMax. They're beating Carvana. They're beating the traditionals. They're beating the publics. So here's the cool thing. It's the great equalizer too. The commonality, whether you're a dominant dealer, large dealer today, or whether you're a small dealer, the commonality is the AI plus innovation, plus leadership, plus, a little bit of audacity has the ability to put anybody in position to win. Agreed?
Absolutely. That's what makes you an entrepreneur. And every dealer is an entrepreneur.
I agree. I can't thank you enough for taking the time to join me again. And this conversation, obviously completely different, as I suspected it would be. Diana, as I said, I hope to have you on again, but I want to make sure that anybody who's out there who would love to have a little jolt of audacity or innovation in their existence has the ability to find you and connect with you. So on my website, we have show notes for every episode. Is it okay if I show people how to connect with you on LinkedIn or email or anything like that?
I would love that. I love dealers. You have my email address. Please give it to them, David. At the end of the day, I'm here to win the fight with them. And I love doing that each and every day, just like you do.
Hey, Diana, what's the latest you've ever sent an email?
Listen, I get
I've gotten
so
them, so don't.
enthused when dealers even text me at midnight. I love it. I love it because I can answer. And I take pride in the fact that text messages and emails and phone calls come in late at night. Because when it happens, I know you're worried, but I want to worry with you. I don't want you to worry alone. I want you to feel like we're partners. I want you to win. So I don't have an off switch, just like you don't. If I'm awake, I'm going to answer, and I'm going to answer super fast.
All in, all day, every day. Diana Lee, CEO, co-founder of Constellation in New York. Listen, thanks again for all of you that are listening in. If you want to share a little audacity, innovation, and information and real knowledge, insight about AI, please take the time to share this episode out. Please take the time to download and subscribe, because I'm very fortunate to have tremendous thought leaders, innovators like Diana, and as well as some of the top dealers in the country, some of the best technology creators in the country. And so please take the time to subscribe. If you want to leave a review about this episode or anything in general, I love them all, good, bad, or ugly, doesn't matter. And I'll look forward to seeing you next time on the David Spizak Show. Diana, thanks.
Thank you so much, David.